The omega-3 capsule you took this morning cost you approximately 40 cents. If you take the recommended 2 per day, that is roughly $290 a year. The average American household has been paying that figure, or something close to it, for the last 2 decades. Because a cardiologist recommended it. Because the label said, heart health. Because there was no visible alternative. There is an alternative. There has always been an alternative. It produces more omega-3 per gram than wild Atlantic salmon. It grows on marginal land that cannot support food crops. It requires no pesticide, no synthetic fertilizer, no irrigation system. It was a staple of American agriculture for 300 years. The plant that contains more omega-3 per gram than a wild Atlantic salmon was made a federal crime in 1970, and you have been buying the substitute ever since. Welcome to the vault. You agreed to hear this. You cannot unhear it. Think about what omega-3 deficiency actually costs a body. Chronic inflammation, elevated cardiovascular risk, documented cognitive decline in populations with low essential fatty acid intake, confirmed in a 2021 review published by the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. Now think about what it costs a wallet. A quality fish oil supplement retails between $25 and $40 per month. Krill oil runs higher. Algae-based omega-3, the version marketed to people who distrust fish sourcing, runs $40 to $60 per month for a therapeutic dose. Add flaxseed oil, which oxidizes faster than most consumers realize and delivers ALA rather than the longer-chain fatty acids the body actually needs to convert. The total annual spend on omega-3 supplements in the United States alone crossed $2 billion in 2022. $2 billion for a nutritional gap. Your cardiologist is not withholding this from you. He was never taught it existed in this form because the textbook that would have contained it was never written. What was written, documented, and then administratively buried is the subject of this file. The record begins not with a laboratory, but with a field. Hemp, Cannabis sativa L, the non-psychoactive agricultural variety, appears in Virginia colonial agricultural records as early as 1619, was when the General Assembly mandated its cultivation. By the mid-18th century, it was one of the most common crops on the eastern seaboard, providing rope, canvas, and lamp oil to a pre-industrial economy that had no synthetic alternatives. George Washington grew it at Mount Vernon. Thomas Jefferson bred improved strains at Monticello. The USDA's own agricultural census records from 1850 document hemp cultivation across more than 8,000 American farms. This was not a fringe crop. It was infrastructure. Then, in 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act passed through Congress. The legislation made no meaningful botanical distinction between industrial hemp, which contains negligible THC, the psychoactive compound, and cannabis cultivated for intoxication. Both were swept under the same administrative classification. The act imposed a prohibitive tax on all cannabis transactions, effectively ending commercial hemp cultivation overnight. The primary testimony in favor of the act was provided by Harry Anslinger, Commissioner of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, in a single afternoon session before the House Ways and Means Committee. The American Medical Association's representative, Dr. William Woodward, testified in opposition. His objections were not entered into the final legislative record in full. 5 years later, the same federal government reversed course. In 1942, the USDA produced and distributed a short film titled Hemp for Victory, ordering American farmers to grow hemp as a patriotic wartime duty, the same crop they had classified as a federal offense 5 years earlier. An estimated 375,000 acres were planted under government directive between 1942 and 1945. When the war ended, the directive was rescinded, the film was pulled from circulation, and for decades the USDA denied the film had ever existed. A copy was recovered in 1989 by hemp advocates and deposited with the Library of Congress, where it remains cataloged today. In 1970, the Controlled Substances Act consolidated hemp and cannabis under Schedule 1, the same classification as heroin, with no distinction made for THC content. The DEA maintained this position for 48 years. during which time hemp cultivation in the United States was effectively impossible without a federal permit almost never granted. The 2018 Farm Bill, signed into law by President Trump, finally removed hemp from the Controlled Substances Act, defining it legally as cannabis containing less than 0.3% THC. It had taken 81 years to return a crop to legality that had never, in any documented scientific literature, caused a single overdose death. Now look at what the prohibition actually cost nutritionally. 25 grams of hemp seed, a single tablespoon and a half, delivers more complete protein than a boiled egg, more omega-3 than 3 ounces of farmed Atlantic salmon, and every essential amino acid the human body cannot manufacture itself. That is the finding of a nutritional analysis published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry, 2010, conducted by researchers at the University of Manitoba. Hemp seed protein is approximately 65% edestin, a globulin protein that mirrors the protein profile of human blood plasma and is absorbed with unusual efficiency by the digestive system. The omega-3 profile is specific. Hemp seed oil contains alpha-linolenic acid at approximately 18 to 22% of total fatty acid content. It also contains stearidonic acid, a longer-chain omega-3 that the body converts to EPA more efficiently than ALA alone, reducing the metabolic cost of conversion. The ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 in hemp seed oil sits between 2 to 1 and 3 to 1, the range the WHO identifies as optimal for cardiovascular function. Most Western diets currently run between 15 to 1 and 20 to 1. 1 acre of hemp yields more usable fiber than 4 acres of trees. The same acre produces seed sufficient for food oil, animal feed, and protein powder simultaneously. The plant's woody inner core, called herds, has documented use in construction composites, automotive panels, and insulating materials. The roots remediate heavy metal contamination from soil. Researchers from Phytotech, a phytoremediation company, documented hemp's uptake of cesium and strontium at contaminated test sites near Chernobyl in the late 1990s. 5 crops, 1 plant, 1 growing season. This is not speculative. It is filed. DuPont filed the patent for nylon in 1937. The Marijuana Tax Act passed in 1937. No congressional record explains why the timing required the elimination of the only natural fiber that competed directly with the new synthetic. What the record does show is that Andrew Mellon, then Secretary of the Treasury and the man who appointed Harry Anslinger to his position, held significant investment in DuPont. This connection appears in historian Jack Herer's documented research, published in The Emperor Wears No Clothes, and has been referenced in academic papers examining the legislative history of cannabis prohibition, including work published by the International Journal of Drug Policy in 2018. William Randolph Hearst, whose newspapers ran the most aggressive anti-cannabis coverage of the 1930s, held extensive timber holdings supplying his paper mills. Hemp paper, which requires less chemical processing than wood pulp and had been used for official documents and currency paper for centuries, was a direct industrial competitor. These are not allegations. They are ownership records, patent filings, and investment disclosures available in public archives. The question that remains genuinely open is not whether financial interests shaped the 1937 legislation. The documented connections are visible to anyone who pulls the record. The question is why, for 81 years, no subsequent Congress found the nutritional and agricultural case compelling enough to revisit it sooner. Here's what you can do today, and it is entirely legal in the United States, the United Kingdom, the European Union, Canada, and Australia. Buy hemp seeds, the hulled variety, sold as hemp hearts, from any major health food retailer or online supplier. Look for cold-pressed hemp seed oil in dark glass bottles, stored in a refrigerated section. The oil oxidizes under light and heat and should never be used for cooking above low temperatures. 3 tablespoons of hemp hearts per day delivers approximately 10 grams of complete protein and approximately 3 grams of omega-3 fatty acids in the optimal ratio documented in the Manitoba study. Add them to yogurt. Press them into a smoothie. Eat them straight. They taste mildly nutty. They will not intoxicate you, trigger a drug test, or appear on any controlled substance register because hulled hemp seeds contain no measurable THC. Before making significant changes to your diet or supplement regimen, speak with a registered dietitian or your primary care physician. This is not medical advice. It is documented nutritional data, and your provider can help you apply it to your specific health context. The seed is the entry point. It is available now. It has been available since 2018. The seed, not the leaf, not the flower, not the extract, is the most nutritionally dense part of the plant, contains no psychoactive compounds whatsoever, and has been sitting in the bulk food section of your nearest health store for the last 6 years waiting for you to notice it. At the beginning of this file, the number was 40 cents, a capsule, a daily supplement, a nutritional gap converted into a recurring purchase by a market that depended on you never knowing what had been classified away. The gap is real. Omega-3 deficiency has documented consequences, and the science on that is not contested. What is now also documented, cataloged, and recoverable is that the gap did not have to exist in this form. The plant was here. The data was here. The USDA film was here, pulled from shelves and denied for 40 years, recovered by 2 researchers who refused to accept the denial. The file was never destroyed. It was just filed somewhere they assumed you would never look, and you just looked. That changes nothing about 1937. It changes everything about tomorrow morning. Share this with one person who is currently buying omega-3 supplements, not as a provocation, as a transfer of documented information that costs them nothing to receive and may cost them considerably less to act on. If you found this file and want to know what else is in the archive, the subscribe button is the door. There are 14 more plants in this vault with documented suppression histories, recoverable uses, and public records that have never been assembled in one place for a general audience. The next file concerns a flowering vine whose root was a standard prescription in American medicine for 100 years, until a single industry meeting in 1941 made it disappear from every pharmacopoeia on the continent. It is currently in phase 2 clinical trials at a major European university for a condition affecting 1 in 4 women over 50. The next file is already waiting.